Is your current job getting you where you want to go? A lot of people don't even ask that. They just go work a job because it gives a paycheck. But when's the last time that you genuinely asked, is my job or my career getting me to the location that I want to go with my life? That's vision. That's the idea of figuring out where do I want to go. Stephen Covey calls it beginning with the end in mind. Some people call it the tombstone test. In a big picture, though, it's about avoiding regret.
How they would like things to be. So many people are too busy just reacting to the cares of the world, to the stresses of life. And so having a vision, when I say having a vision for your life, or you ask somebody, what's your vision for your life? What are your goals? That may be foreign to a lot of people. And you probably see that a lot. So let's talk about that. What do you say to folks that are too busy or have never sat down and really kind of identified that vision for their life?
And having a personal vision for our lives. I love the scripture that you threw out. Without vision, people perish, because that has to do with a nation, that has to do with a family unit, that has to do with an individual. And busyness getting in the way of the most important things is probably the biggest cancer that we have in society today. You said maybe 40% of families have a personal budget. I've done financial coaching for 10 years, and if I could find 40 people who have a budget, I'd throw a party. It's from what I see, it's closer to probably 20 to 25% of a lot of the people that I deal with. And so 40% is wonderful. I applaud those who do. So when you're building your vision from the ground up, the first idea is the awareness of knowing I need one. Because, and the other side of this is people who want to build a vision, but that they're almost doing it in an idealistic Pollyanna way to where, oh, what are my feelings of where I want to go in life? No, your vision is more of a concrete idea about why are you here? We may get into this deeper later, but Stephen Covey has one of my favorite descriptions of creating a vision like this when he talks about first creation mode versus second creation mode. First creation mode, he compares to a blueprint of a house, to where it's the idea of what's it going to look like? How many houses are we going to, how many rooms are going to be in our house? How many levels is it going to be? How many people are going to be able to live there? That is creating a vision for your life. And he calls the second creation mode actually bringing that into existence, building the house. But Terry, what happens to so many of us is we get so busy in second creation mode. We're building, we get hammers, we start hammering nails, we put plywood up, we're putting plumbing in, and we don't even know how many rooms we want. We've done no work in the mental thought process of creating a vision, not even considering what does God want us to do with our lives. A.W. Tozer said, what you think about God is the most important part of your life. And I think it's also Kevin DeYoung creates the idea of most people are building their lives, but they never ask the question of what can I do? How can I serve the local church? That idea is not even in our personal vision. It
Hmm.
ends up just being about building my little world. And we
Hmm.
get so busy. So that's just a couple of thoughts that if we get so busy in second creation mode of building something, but we spend no time in first creation mode of building, then we're going to literally get to the end of our lives and have nothing but regret because we didn't actually build anything.
Yeah.
We just threw a lot of screws and nails in place, and we look at what our life was built, and it's not going to make any sense because we didn't
Mhm.
spend the hard work up front.
Okay. So what do you say to the person who has taken the time and who wants to do that? They're seeking, they're searching, they would like to discover their purpose in order to, have a vision. It helps to know why you're here. It helps to know what your purpose is. What do you say to them?
Great question. A couple of book recommendations that I would throw out because I'm a big reader, and I believe that if you think that you're building, not you, but if our listeners think that they're building a life with their own knowledge, that doesn't exist. We are made for community. One of your videos that talks about the biggest problem the church faces today, and I would encourage our listeners to go listen to that. But the idea that we were made to do life together, um, you will need to learn from other people. So I really encourage books like Simon Sinek's Start with Why. Encourages the idea of visualization, figuring out why am I here? Does God have me in this family unit, in this environment for this time period? Because God put you in this time period for a reason. So Read books like that. Read books such as Stephen Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Effective People to really dive into the examples of people in the past. Study history. Read a biography of someone that you respect in a major way so you can learn from them how they created vision. How did they do some of this? Shoe Dog by Phil Knight was an incredible book of vision. How did he see what he saw? Even though Steve Jobs had some of his issues, Walter Isaacson's biography on Steve Jobs is amazing as well. So study people who have done some of this to figure some of these things out. But one of the biggest, Terry, when it comes down to it, is consider what's most important to you. A lot of people call these core values. In my coaching, I actually work with people through a core values exercise to help them identify there's a lot of good things in the world. If you were just to write out 50 good virtues, if you write out honesty, if you write out character, family, love, gentleness, faithfulness, caring, just some general adjectives or nouns. The reason that I've poured my life into being a coach is I have discovered the power of an objective third party that isn't emotionally involved in your life to be able to walk in and say, hey, I'm not going to lose sleep. Like if Terry was my client that I was speaking with, I would say, Terry, I'm not going to lose sleep based on your choices, my friend, but I'll be able to offer an objective idea. So as a coach, I would help draw out what's the most important things to him. So if
Yeah.
you're not actively looking for someone in your life to help you draw out your vision, you're
Yeah.
going to have a hard time doing it by yourself. That's the first thing I would tell somebody.
Yeah, I echo that. I am a huge believer in third-party assistance because we all, the analogy I always use is I can see both hands and I can see both hands until right now. I can't see either hand right now. So that means I have 180 degrees that I can't even see. And the only person who can see is somebody else. So I
So
have
true.
to have someone who's looking from a different perspective or I'm in trouble. And I've seen that I've seen that in friendships. I've seen that in marriage. I've seen that professionally. And when I've put people in my life that have the ability and the freedom to tell me what I need to hear that I don't want to hear or that I'm clueless to. Oh man, that's been one of the secrets to growth for me.
And it's really interesting you say that because the example you gave was about vision.
Hmm.
When do I lose my vision? Right here.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
lose, I have blind spots in my vision, and without going to a third party, I cannot actually have full vision
Right,
without other people in my life.
right.
When it comes to building your vision from the ground up, many people lose it at this space. They tell me one really big objection, and it's I don't have the time. And I want to spend just a moment. I actually published a book in April on the principle toolbox, and one of the chapters in there is on the lie of I don't have the time. Because when you do a truthful examination of this, we all have 24 hours in our day, and we spend our 20 every one of us must spend 24 hours in our day. So when we say I don't have the time to build my vision, I don't have the time is actually a lie. It's self-deception going, I don't have the time. We do have the time. It's not enough of a priority to me to spend some of my 24 hours in vision casting and looking forward. So literally, I will have, and I'll tell my wife, I'm going to be in first creation mode today. I'm going to spend an hour in first creation mode. What does that mean? Vision casting. It means building my vision. Where is my business going? Where is my coaching going? Where is my marriage going? So I really encourage some of our listeners right now to focus on using your time in a more productive fashion. Now, I don't mean second creation more productive. I mean first creation more productive. Put down the hammer and think through your life. Is your current job getting you where you want to go? A lot of people don't even ask that. They just go work a job because it gives a paycheck. But when's the last time that you genuinely asked, is my job or my career getting me to the location that I want to go with my life? That's vision. That's the idea of figuring out where do I want to go. Stephen Covey calls it beginning with the end in mind. Some people call it the tombstone test. In a big picture, though, it's about avoiding regret. Vision is about avoiding regret. Most people regret at the end of their lives because they didn't build vision.
Hmm.
They just did life. So I encourage our listeners to make sure that you avoid regret by doing the difficult work now to think through your life, think through where you want to go. And is the path you're getting is and ask yourself, is the path you're on getting you where you want to go? Because if it's not, maybe it's time to change paths. So I'm not just talking about a career. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's an association group. Terry and I are part of a small group of guys who have been meeting now for years, and that group has led my entire life in a better direction. Do you have a group of people like that that's feeding into your life? So, Terry, I appreciate you letting me speak to that for a few minutes because that's a that's a deep passion of
Yeah.
mine.
So we talked about take some time and spend some time in first creation mode, doing an assessment of, what your goals are, what you want, maybe what your skill set is, where you need to address some of the deficiencies. Put yourself in community with other people who know you, who can speak into your life, who can help you give you direction, course correction needed. And you go to some books that we can read, that people can read.
I like to call this the results process, Terry. The results we have come from our habits. Our habits come from our thinking, and our thinking comes from our inputs. This is the reason that when people try New Year's resolutions, this is why they fail, because we all want different results. So we want to change our habits, but we don't recognize our habits actually come from our thinking, and our thinking comes from our inputs. So the letters I always use, we've covered a couple of these, but I want to give our listeners something they can use, maybe write down on a note card. The letters are RLA: read, listen, associate. What am I reading? What am I listening to? Who am I associating with? And what I would encourage our readers is, what are your specific, there's this phrase I'm going to use, specific intent. Specific intent. What are the specific action steps you will take in your reading, in your listening, in your association? We talked a little about reading and associating. The other part is listening. I am a big proponent, and this is a big deal. I'm a big proponent in paying for personal education. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, and I'm not talking about college. I'm talking about paying for your self-education and your personal development. YouTube is wonderful. YouTube's a good start, but ultimately you need to be on some kind of subscription, somebody, some leaders that you trust, people like a John Maxwell, give podcasts and audios, this channel, Terry Allen's channel. What are you listening to? What's feeding your spirit? Sometimes it's music, excellent. But what about some things in the background that are feeding your vision with some teachings, some podcasts? I encourage you to find some people you trust, subscribe to their podcasts, subscribe to their YouTube channels, pay for a subscription. I know some people that are on hundreds of dollars of subscriptions into personal development. Why? Because it matters in first creation mode. So invest in yourself.
Mhm.
Don't just rely on everything free. There's a few good free tools, but I encourage you to invest in yourself.
Mhm.
Do a budget like Terry talked about earlier, and set some money aside for personal development. And if you don't know where, find a coach.
Yeah.
Ask them their opinion, and they'll be able to direct you to a couple good locations.
People want to reach out to you. Where do they do that?
I appreciate that. The best way is my website, www.bloodflowcoaching. That's the word bloodflowcoaching.com. Or my email address is bloodflow.coaching@gmail.com. And you can get my book from there. You can contact me from there. And I'd love to hear from any of your listeners.